Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I am going to be talking about two new movies, Ballerina and How to Train Your Dragon. These two movies were among my most anticipated movies of the year, but the real question is, were they worth my hype? And yes, they were. They're both very good. Neither of them are groundbreaking pieces of cinema, nor will they likely remain in my top 10 favorite of the year by the end of 2025, but they both deliver satisfying and highly entertaining movie experiences. Before I continue on, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up, it's a great help. Also feel free to check out my Letterboxd where I'm very active, you can see all the reviews I might post and all my lists over there. This summer has been a non-stop barrage of fun movie-going experiences so far. I saw Thunderbolts 3 times, I saw Mission Impossible 8 4 times, all in IMAX. Bring Her Back was an incredibly well done and disturbing horror movie. And the two movies I'm going to be talking about here were very fun to watch as well. I'm going to talk about Ballerina first, and I'm not going to lie, I was kind of nervous for this movie. Mainly because I would not say that I have a built-in trust for Len Wiseman as a director. Not that I have anything against him, I've just never seen anything from him that's impressed me all that much. Plus, there were a whole bunch of rumors of this movie being delayed a full year to rework it, along with the weird social media reaction embargo fiasco that happened recently. Well, thankfully that nervousness wasn't necessary because this was such a fun film. The world of John Wick has so much potential for explorations of different characters and other aspects of the world, so it's nice to see that they have succeeded with their first spin-off movie. Ballerina is an action-packed adrenaline rush of a movie with a very solid and easy to root for lead character in Eve Macaro. The plot setup is very simple and gets right to the point. After the death of her father, Eve is taken in by the Riskaroma, the same people that trained John Wick. She's trained, and she's set up within the John Wick world of assassins, where then she wishes to take revenge on the people who killed her father. Of course, there are some more complications in the plot along the way, but that is the basic gist of the story setup. There isn't all that much depth, and the film for sure isn't going to win any screenplay awards, but let's be honest, we all go to John Wick movies for the action, and this movie delivers in spades in that department. The first half of the film isn't without action, in fact there's plenty of it, but the second half is basically non-stop waves of fight scenes after fight scenes. The sequence with the grenades and the flamethrower scenes are standout fights and among my favorite action scenes in the whole John Wick franchise. Now I'm going to sing the praises of Ana de Armas here. She throws herself into the stunts and action choreography. Everything she does is believable and she fights in a completely different way than John Wick himself does. In fact, maybe the movie over-delivers on explaining how she is able to take on all of the people that she fights. Yeah, in real life she wouldn't be able to kick the snot out of the amount of people that she fights in the film, but neither would a man. It always amuses me when the typical weirdos online whine about women winning fights against multiple or larger opponents in films. First of all, a man wouldn't be able to do any of this either, and action movies are just that. Movies. Really, this is a minor nitpick of the movie for me, or maybe I've just seen too much internet brain rot from hearing what chuds and grifters complaining about movies for. And thankfully I haven't seen too many complaints about Eve as a character being able to do all of this stuff. But the usual suspects have definitely complained about Eve. Whatever. It's not that big of a criticism. Ana de Armas is swiftly becoming one of my favorite actors. From Blade Runner 2049 to Knives Out and No Time to Die, she has a great diversity in the roles that she's taken, and she's been great with pretty much all of them. I hope we get a sequel to this movie just to see her be awesome in this role again. John Wick also makes an appearance in the film, and it's a good sign that he isn't the best part of the movie, because while his role and screen time is great, it is simply a supplementary aspect of the story and the action to help Eve's character keep moving forward. It was a great way to utilize the John Wick character. The John Wick world is fascinating, and while Ballerina doesn't expand upon it immensely, there are plenty of additions to the lore that keeps the new information engaging to watch. And all that said, this is probably my least favorite of the series for now. It is like saying the least best in a franchise full of the most best movies, though, because Ballerina is a very good action movie. I guess for me, it just doesn't have the same level of gravitas as the main John Wick series does. The first John Wick is lightning in a bottle. John Wick 2 goes in a completely different direction and expands the world. 3 does what 2 did, but with more bonkers fight scenes. And John Wick 4 is among the greatest action films ever, so it would be kinda hard to top that one. Ballerina also doesn't particularly have a very interesting or memorable villain. which does slightly hinder the desire for revenge within the story. Like, think back to John Wick 1 with Alfie Allen's character. We hated him and we wanted to see John Wick get revenge so bad. He wasn't a particularly in depth character, but he was very memorable within that story. And in Ballerina, we just don't get something like that, which is a bit of a shame. There is also a character that I felt was completely wasted and could have led to a really great development within the story, but the moment something interesting actually happened with this character, it just kind of stops there, which did disappoint me a little bit. It could have been a really interesting twist or led to something really cool in the story. It just doesn't happen, which is probably my biggest negative within the movie, is this character being wasted. I won't say who it is to avoid spoilers, but it's fairly obvious when you see it. All my negatives aside, Ballerina is a great film. It's not my favorite action movie of the year or anything, that still is Mission Impossible, but it is one that I look forward to seeing again, and I hope it gets a sequel, but it doesn't seem to be doing great at the box office right now, so we'll see. I'd probably give Ballerina an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. Also, it was very nice seeing Lance Reddick again. May he rest in peace. Next up is the live-action adaptation or remake, however you want to put it, of How to Train Your Dragon. I was actually really excited for this one. In a time when everyone is so cynical of live-action remakes of animated films, this one looked really special. I was obviously skeptical when it was announced, but then the first teaser released, and I joined the brigade of this better be shot for shot the same or we riot, because I was really impressed with that teaser. These kinds of live-action remakes also have strange audience receptions, in my opinion, because it always feels like people can't make up their minds. If it's too similar to the original work, people ask what the point of it was, which to that I say technically every movie is unnecessary. And if the film derivates from the original, then people complain that it's too different. I'm in the camp that I just want whatever I'm watching to be good, and thankfully this new How to Train Your Dragon is pretty great. And that pretty much leads me to why I think a lot of these remakes have mixed reception from audiences, is that a lot of the times they're just not that great. Like, the Snow White movie was pretty bad. Not for the reasons that chuds on the internet would have you think it was bad. It was just dull and uninspired. The Lilo and Stitch remake was fine, but it doesn't come close to the original charm of the early 2000s movie. Basically, what I think I'm getting at is that they didn't necessarily have much soul to the films, even if they were superficially entertaining. This is where Universal succeeded with this How to Train Your Dragon movie, because the soul remains intact from the original film. While I wouldn't say that I have any nostalgia for the original movie, it is one of my favorite animated films, so I was hoping that this would elicit similar emotions, which it definitely did for me at least. And I'm going to actually start with my negatives for this movie first, and then get to what I loved about it. My first and biggest negative actually has nothing to do with the movie itself, but it's the jerk who sat in front of me in IMAX who was on his phone for the first 20 minutes. This was so distracting, and I had to ask him to get off his phone. He seemed pissed at me when I asked, and then not even 10 minutes later, he took his family and left the movie permanently. Who goes to a more expensive premium format like IMAX, only to be on your phone, and then leave when someone asks you to get off of your phone? Just follow the damn rules, it's not that hard. This was by far the worst part of the experience because I just could not focus for a good portion of the first act. Once they left, I could actually start focusing, and I loved it pretty much from there on. Aside from the phone guy, the actual biggest issue is the first act is a little clunky. In a way, it feels like they filmed everything in sequential order, and director Dean DeBlois is trying to find how he wants to direct the film for live action and hasn't quite figured it out just yet. But once the second act hits, the movie soars, literally. I also wouldn't say that I was a fan of this movie's version of Rough Nut and Tough Nut. Nothing against the two actors, but they just didn't really hit for me. Other than that, yeah, this movie is great. It's awesome. Some will obviously complain that it's too similar to the original, and I will grant them that this is basically a carbon copy of the animated film. I honestly didn't care. A great story is a great story, and this version of said story does it justice. The film captures exactly why we love the animated movie in the first place. At the core of both versions of How to Train Your Dragon, it is a story of a boy and his dog, aka Puppy Dragon Toothless, and a story of a father and a son who both deeply love each other, but aren't quite on the same wavelength, which creates conflict. And that relationship between Hiccup and Stoic is done pretty much just as well here as it was in the animated movie. There's just so much heart in that aspect of the story, and it creates so much great narrative tension and emotion. Bringing back Gerard Butler to play Stoic was a great decision. The makeup and costume teams did a great job of bringing this character to this new movie, and Gerard Butler brings in a really great performance as well. Mason Thames as Hiccup is slightly different from the original, but he does a great job too. And Nico Parker is also great as Astrid, along with Nick Frost being delightful as Gobber. Speaking of Nico Parker, I'm very tired of people complaining about casting decisions based on the color of the actor's skin. This is in a fictional Viking universe where dragons are real. It's not based on any particular real time period. It's not something that matters, especially considering she's great in the movie. And because I'm a Last of Us fanboy, anytime something Last of Us related comes up, I will talk about it. It is very nice to see Joel's daughter not get killed in the first 30 minutes. Visually speaking, seeing this movie in theaters is an absolute necessity. Preferably IMAX because a lot of the film uses the expanded aspect ratio. The cinematography is gorgeous and the visual effects are immaculate. The way the team behind this film adapted the dragon designs for live action is incredible. In fact, there are many designs that I actually vastly prefer the way they look here over the animated version. The action is thrilling, particularly the finale with the Red Death, and hearing John Powell's euphoric musical score in theaters was maybe my favorite part of the whole experience. Yeah, it's pretty much the exact same music from the original film, but God, it's so good. But at the end of the day, this film needed to nail one thing above everything else, and that is Toothless. Yep, Toothless is done pretty much perfectly. Like the other dragons, he is perfectly adapted for live action. He is simultaneously the coolest and cutest looking fictional creature in movies. The relationship between Hiccup and Toothless is essential for the film to work, and here they bring a similar level of emotion to the big screen once again. Regardless of your feelings of live action remakes, this movie is worth seeing just to see the test flying sequence. It's stunning. Overall, I love this version of How to Train Your Dragon. Maybe not as much as the animated film, but I still loved it, and it is certainly the greatest live action remake of a beloved animated film, probably ever. I'd probably give this movie the same score that I gave Ballerina, an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. This summer movie season has been a feast of greatness so far, in my opinion, and it looks like that streak will only continue with big releases like F1, Superman, Fantastic Four, and many, many more. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on these films in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Okay, bye.
If it is to be said, so it is.